Martin Luther was born in Eisleben in 1483, which is modern-day Germany. Luther's father was a copper miner. When Luther was born, his father moved them to improve his job and was determined for his son to be successful. His father then became a successful miner, and the family was respected by a lot of people. Luther studied at the University of Erfurt, one of the best schools at the time, which was picked by his father. In 1505, Luther then joined a monastic order, becoming an Augustinian friar. In 1507, he was ordained and taught at the University of Wittenberg. Luther was then appointed and made a doctor of theology in 1512.
Martin Luther strongly disagreed with the Catholic Church, which led to his 95 Theses. His ultimate question is, how one is saved and enters heaven. He believed in faith alone in Jesus would save you. He disapproved of the Catholic Church because he thought the Bible was the source of revelation, and he did not like how the Catholic Church would add things that were not written in the Bible. He did not agree with the indulgences that were sold by the Catholic Church. He did not agree with how the money was used in the Catholic Church, and he thought the Catholic Church was corrupt.
Committed to the idea that salvation could be reached through faith and by divine grace only, Luther vigorously objected to the corrupt practice of selling indulgences. Acting on this belief, he wrote the Disputation on the Power and Efficacy of Indulgences, also known as the 95 Theses, a list of questions and propositions for debate. Popular legend has it that on October 31st, 1517, Luther defiantly nailed the copy of his 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Castle Church. The 95 Theses, which would later become the foundation of the Protestant Reformation, were written in a remarkably humble and academic tone, questioning rather than accusing. The overall thrust of the document was nonetheless quite provocative. The first two of these theses contained Luther's central idea that God intended believers to seek repentance and that faith alone and not deeds would lead to salvation. The other 93 theses, a number of them directly criticizing the practice of indulgence, supported these first two. In addition to his criticisms of indulgences, Luther also reflected popular sentiment about the St. Peter scandal in the 95 Theses.
Martin Luther and his 95 Theses influenced the world for ages to come. The lasting impact of his theses can still be felt today. The most immediate effect of his 95 Theses was the start of the Reformation movement. Protestantism was born from this movement and spread across Europe at a rapid pace, helped along by the fact that the Bible was translated into German by Martin Luther. Today, more than 40% of Christians are Protestant. Martin Luther's 95 Theses led to the decreasing influence of the church in people's lives. People began to think of the church as an intermediary and started to focus on their personal relationship with God. The Reformation movement started by the 95 Theses also led to Martin Luther creating the Two Kingdoms Doctrine. The Two Kingdoms Doctrine popularized the idea of a separation between church and state. The church also saw a sharp decline in the use of indulgences, which were one of the main things Martin Luther was upset about. Martin Luther's 95 Theses led to an overall decrease in the power of the church, and spawned ideas such as a separation of church and state, and having a personal relationship with God without the need for an intermediary.